Hey everyone, this is Disc Junkie, and welcome back to the Mancave Madness. So today I'm standing in the Texas Chain Saw Massacre room, the TCM room, the horror room, call it what you will, but this is essentially where I keep my Texas Chain Saw Massacre collection. I've been an avid fan of this film for quite a few years, and I currently own somewhere around 330, 340 releases of this movie. And this is housed in some shelves that I built myself, and we're standing in the small little room where I essentially have this entire collection unboxed and on display. And there's a TV in here, and it's a very small room, but I'm still really happy with what I've been able to accomplish. And I feel that this room has a very sort of creepy vibe, and it's just very different from all of the other rooms in my man cave. And so for today, I thought that we would do some reorganizing in here. And the main reason for this is that I have this, which is like a 1970s maybe. I'm not really sure how old this is, but it is a medical skeleton, which I picked up from another collector. And I think this was shown briefly in one of the other Man Cave videos that I made recently, but generally I haven't talked too much about it. And quite honestly, it's one of those things which I picked up, I placed it in this theater chair, and then I haven't really given it much thought because I just haven't had time. But there has been a few thoughts about this lingering in my mind that I would like to maybe convert this into some sort of creepy lamp, like something you would expect in the Texas Chain Saw Massacre household. And so I thought we would actually explore that idea today. I'm thinking we will essentially dismantle this skeleton and also maybe mount it somewhere so we can actually light it up. I would like to place some sort of bulb or light within so you can actually see the light coming through the rib cage. And this is an idea which I've had on my mind for many years, and I originally saw this in the Myst video game, where there is a specific sort of room in this game that actually has a human rib cage mounted on the wall and has light in it. I always thought this was really cool and felt like ever since I played that game, I've been wanting to make that a realization in some part of my man cave at some point. And this room feels like the obvious choice to do that. And so that's what we're gonna do. And while we're on the topic of reorganizing, I have actually picked up a new little cabinet. And this is something I found yesterday. It comes from a small second-hand shop, and it is a IKEA furniture, so it's not like it's super vintage or anything. But I saw this and I felt like it sort of has that sort of vintage style to it, with like the little shelf going out. It's not like your typical square sort of Billy bookcase. It's a bit more vintage looking. It's got these glass doors, which I'm thinking I will probably just unhinge because I don't really want a sort of closed cabinet. It would very much like an open one. And for the record, this is something known as the, let's see what it is. So yeah, this is the Lexvik, and there is the little article number or the product number. I don't think these are being sold anymore. I think it is a product which has been discontinued, but I hadn't really heard about this, and I just saw it at the secondhand shop. Only cost me 200 Swedish crowns, which is about 20 euro. And I felt that this will probably be a pretty good fit for this corner of the room where I actually have the skeleton. It's going to be a tight fit, but I'm thinking we're going to place this against the back wall here and just sort of rethink this entire area. I'm not really sure if the chair will even go in the spot. Maybe I'll just move it over there instead. Haven't decided, not really sure if I'm even gonna have a chair in here, but I've always felt that I would like to have a small sort of cozy chair where I can sit and read a book or just watch TV or something. But I also felt that the red theater chair, which is in here at the moment, this doesn't really feel like it's a fitting sort of theme for this room. It never really did, but I had the theater chair, I didn't really have a space to put it, and so it ended up here. So I would maybe like to replace the chair as well if I find something interesting. But we got a whole lot of stuff to do, so let's just get to it and basically see where we end up, because we honestly never really know with this room or with any room in the man cave. So yeah, let's just cue the time lapse. So welcome back to the room. I've now completed my little reorganizing project, and I have to say that I'm fairly happy with it. I'm just gonna go ahead and show you some of the details, and the first thing we obviously have to check out is the brand new lamp. And I gotta say, I'm really happy with this. I essentially just placed the skeleton on my new little cabinet. I didn't really mount it in any way because I realized that this skeleton is actually a bit sort of heavy towards the back. So it literally is just leaning against the wall, but you really have to push it forward quite a bit in order for it to tip over. So I'm not really worried about it falling. And also the sort of material is, I don't know, it feels quite sturdy. I mean, I could obviously mount it, but I don't really think I need to. And I just really generally like the way it looks, just sitting there on the shelf without any sort of real mounting to it. I think it, really works well. And then as you saw in the video, in the time lapse, I obviously placed a small bulb in here. I ran a wire. You can see that the lamp is being held in place right in there, and just ran a wire over down the back. Then you actually have a little switch here, so I can turn on and off if I want to. And generally, I just think this was a very simple and fun project. I did leave the sort of metal brackets in here. I could obviously remove them, but at the same time, I don't really mind. There's all kind of sort of metallic wires and stuff left in there anyway, so I don't really think that it sort of hurts the overall aesthetic that there are metal pieces there. I just think generally it works just the same. And so with that, I had to create a bit of a new display area. Decided to put some of these big boxes up here. I also hung a sort of meat cleaver on the wall. This was a last minute addition simply because I realized I had a screw mounted in the wall from before, and I just tended to sort of hang it there, and I thought it, you know, kind of fitted. So decided to keep that. But if we're gonna look at the brand new cabinet or a little sort of bookcase mini setup I got underneath, there's a whole lot of stuff in here, but generally I decided to use this for my little sort of miscellaneous corner. Here we got some sequels, we got some porn spoofs, and down at the bottom we got just generally miscellaneous stuff. And you know, this is essentially anything that's not really fitting in the other shelves. But I also decided to throw in some bizarro knickknacks that don't really have anything to do with the Texas Chainsaw, but that are just sort of fitting to the room. Like, here's some new knickknacks I picked up a while back. Here's a sort of piranha head, just one of these little paperweights, appears to be from Brazil. I think I showed this in one of the secondhand sickness videos. We got one of these old cleavers, which is commonly used in like sugar boxes, like you use this for making sugar cubes, but it does look quite menacing, so I thought that was a little fun addition. And then of course we got this weird guy who was also featured in one of the secondhand sickness videos, some sort of homemade custom bizarro art project with eyeballs in it. I have no idea. Then up here we got the sequels, obviously, just a variety of DVDs and videotapes and stuff. Here is a mask, which I know isn't very sort of Texas Chainsaw-y. This is essentially a mask which I got that's a very similar mask to something that's featured in one of my all-time favorite horror movies, the Poughkeepsie tapes. So I kept this in here just because I feel that it somewhat works in that, you know, creepy old house, creepy old mask, that kind of stuff. But obviously no direct connection to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And of course then at the end here, got this little Tubbs leather-faced duck that's still in the box there. Now, looking at the rest of the room, I did have to make some modifications based on moving this around. And I also decided to take out my theater chair, which you saw in the time-lapse. And honestly, I'm not really sure what to replace it with, but I never really felt that it fitted in this room. So I'm actually going to use that at some other place in the man cave, and we will get back to that in the future videos. But for now, I have an empty space, obviously. I would like to add some sort of, you know, just a big old comfy chair, something vintage maybe. So, yeah, I don't know. I just guess I'll keep my eyes open. I did also reorganize a little bit in the window. I sort of rehung some of the big things. And yeah, we can just go in for a bit of a closer look here to give you a bit of an update. So here we got some knickknacks. We got the chainsaw that I have on display. Once again, no connection to Texas Chainsaw directly, aside from the fact that it is a chainsaw, obviously. But, you know, it's not really a model that's featured in none of the movies. It's just a chainsaw I had at home that was left over that I thought looked kind of vintage, kind of cool. As far as the window, we have a bear trap, which is a prop, actually an original prop from the movie The Collector. And I just hang it here because I think it fits the theme, but it is actually a stunt prop. It's actually a foam, not really metal or anything. It's wooden, and the spikes are just painted foam. Then we got some old magazines from Fangoria that are plastered on the windows. This is not new, but They tend to be covered up by a lot of stuff, so I thought I would focus on them. And this is also something I did in the past, and I just felt that it sort of creates this very creepy house vibe to the whole room, which I like. And aside from that, we obviously got a little table, which I've shown in the past. Now we just have a vintage looking sort of industrial lamp there. Got a sledgehammer, and then we got my little Leatherface figure downstairs. This is I think it's the 18-inch, if I don't remember incorrectly. Then over here we have a rusty bucket, a larger sledgehammer in it. This is also some flea market finds that I made over the years. We got a leather apron, and then we got this old, what's it called? One of these band dog collar things. And yeah, I mean, the rest of the stuff here on the shelf, I think you've seen most of it. I haven't really done too much changes to this part of the room. Obviously, all of my creepy dolls upstairs on the shelf. Then we got some, you know, some masks and variety of stuff here. But yeah, I mean, I don't think we need to talk too much about this, but it's nice to give you a bit of an overview. Then we got the display portion, the display shelf here on the side. And then to the left, I did actually make a big upgrade. I decided to remove the television, as you saw. You remember that I had a big flat screen over here. So I removed that. We're gonna get back to that in a future project, in a future video. But aside from this, the bottom shelf is somewhat unchanged. I did add some new stuff at the top, and primarily we got the small TV, which I'm a bit uncertain about, primarily because I'm not really sure if it feels vintage enough. I mean, I tried to sort of experiment a bit, like you saw in the time lapse. I tried to have a variety of TVs, just sort of putting CRTs on top of each other, trying to build some sort of a tower. But I just realized that even though this was a cool concept, it became really difficult and it didn't really look as cool as I had hoped. So I don't know, if you have any ideas what to do with this specific corner, feel free to comment on the video. I eventually decided to add this TV for the time being, and this is actually the only CRT monitor that I have which has a built-in VCR into it that actually works. I do have one more with a built-in VCR, but that actually doesn't work with the VCR or the TV portion. So yeah, this felt like the best choice that I had. And it's not like I'm gonna sit in here to watch too many movies because it's a small screen, but it's nice to have something, and it feels like it sort of makes the room feel more authentic. And then obviously I just added a bunch of stuff. This is a small bird cage with actually like a toy skull, which I modified. And it looks okay in this setting, but generally it's not my proudest hour, but I think it works in here. And obviously the little birdcage is a straight homage to the themes and the settings in the Texas Chain Saw Massacre, because birdcages are always very present in the Texas Chain Saw Massacre household. And over here we got another birdcage. This is also something that was present over here previously, and so I sort of moved some of the stuff around. So not too much of this is new, it's just not been presented in this specific place before. So here we got a bit of knickknacks. We got a small little frame with a woman screaming. It's actually someone screaming at an Elvis concert, I think. But yeah, generally just a bit of knickknacks sort of combined into a very sort of weird display. And this is new. This is a vintage prosthetics piece of, you know, for teeth. So no idea about the age of this, but I got this secondhand on like a Facebook Marketplace. I forget exactly what I paid. It might have overpaid. I think I paid like, I don't know, 10, 20 euro thereabouts. But I thought it looked really creepy. I thought it was a great addition to the project. Then we got some new tapes that, you know, they're not really new tapes. They've been in the collection quite a while, but I decided to place them like a new display. And so this was very much thrown together. I used one of these little shelves that I had on the floor before, and then just generally set this up as a new little display area. But yeah, I mean, aside from that, the bottom shelf is the same, and I'm not really sure as to if this particular area is finalized. I mean, I could see myself reworking this entire thing. I mean, as you saw in the time lapse, this was quite a experimental part of the room. A whole lot of moving stuff around, moving CRTs, moving shelves. It's just a really difficult area to plan for, and I haven't really decided if this is my final sort of presentation of what to do here. But it's gonna have to do for now, because, you know, this whole time lapse and the video has been running for too long, and I still got, you know, a whole lot of stuff to deal with. I just feel that I can't really finish the room today, because it's gonna take quite a while to replace my existing chair with something else. And so with that, I just can't be bothered to keep shooting this video until the entire room is done. So yeah, sorry about that, but rest assured that I will return to this project in the future. Oh, and before we go, obviously a bit of a change over here. I did have the horns and stuff was here. This was a sort of centerpiece display, but I did add the skeleton arms. And I just sort of worked them in there, so they're not really mounted or anything. You know, there's no sort of drilling or whatever. I just sort of pushed them into this sort of crevice that was there and sort of bent them, and they actually got stuck there. So, I mean, you can easily remove them, but they're not really gonna fall out. So, I mean, I like the fact that they're just sort of hanging there. Like, you know, it gives this really sort of I don't know, very creepy vibe. But then we also got like a bit of a centerpiece. This is a little throwback to some of my secondhand sickness videos. If you watch that episode, you'll know what this is all about. Got my little Dick Lord Dick Lord pendant, whatever. I don't even know what to say about this. Then obviously underneath we got my little display for Gunnar Hansen. I got his Leatherface makeup, and then a very rare photo of Gunnar Hansen without the mask while he was shooting the Texas Chain Saw Massacre. So yeah, really happy about this vintage sort of wooden display. Just think it works very, very well in this room. And then as far as the rest of the wall is concerned, there's really nothing new. I can sort of move out to the fisheye view just to show you, but the wall in general has not really been modified to any sort of major extent. It's essentially just the centerpiece with the arms that's been changed. But with that, I guess we are finally done with this video. I have to say that I was really happy about putting together the lamp project. It's definitely a dream come true to actually have a display like this. It's something I've been wanting for many years. But aside from that, we are done. So I want to say thank you very much for watching. Really hope you enjoyed it. And as usual, hope to see you all next time.